You can see that by using an FM transmitter, the child has an even greater chance of engaging in the learning in the classroom. Now, hearing loss can be slight to profound. Most of the impact is on language acquisition. The child's vocabulary is impeded or impaired. There are basic academic skills that are not there. Written expression can become a problem, and there are spelling delays. Just imagine for a moment that when you were younger and you were trying to learn to talk, that you couldn't hear what your mother was saying, you couldn't hear words from the television, you couldn't hear words from the radio, you couldn't hear sounds of birds. Think how much impaired your learning would have been. So there are various models and modes of communication that people with hearing loss seem to use. One of them is gesturing, the other is sign language, other is cued speech or lip reading, and the other is finger spelling. And of course we have assistive devices such as hearing aids or cochlear implants. But what are some of the teaching tips we need to know for students with hearing loss? Well, they need a lot of visual input. They need our language to be simple, that we should teach vocabulary. Students with hearing loss have a more limited vocabulary, and we need to teach the meaning of words. We need to repeat the instructions often, and we shouldn't give instructions in a noisy room. Imagine the distortion of noise when the child is trying to listen to the instruction that the teacher has given. Our instructions should be written on a whiteboard if possible, and to gain the students' attention, it's important to call them by name. Where possible, we should be using printed notes, and when we're having a discussion in the classroom, we should repeat the question, but also repeat the answers that the other children in the classroom are giving. We should involve the student in the lesson as much as possible. And it's important that we as teachers don't talk while facing the whiteboard. We must talk to the student so they can see our face. We should not talk from the back of the room, but we should move closer to the child with hearing loss so they can have maximum chance of learning. It's important that the student should be seated near the whiteboard, and that we check that they have their FM transmitter on, that we have our transmitter on as well. It's important that we look at the assessments that we give the child to see if they need to be modified, and seek advice regularly from a hearing loss consultant. Hearing loss is one of the disabilities or impairments that is not readily that you look at a child and know they've got a hearing loss. Most children do not want to admit that they have some kind of disability. They don't want to be treated differently. They want to be treated like everybody else. So it's really important that we try and normalize their lessons as much as possible, that we will be attentive to their needs, that we will check that they are learning, and that all the times they don't think or feel that they are an imposition in the learning lesson. I think that having a child with a hearing loss or a vision impairment in the classroom has a unique sense of challenges. But the most important thing that we can do for our students is to make sure that they are using their assistive devices that their parents have bought for them, that we try and make it as interesting as possible, that they know that we care about them, that it's not an imposition, and that they don't feel afraid to seek our support. Yes, we do have 29 students in the class sometimes that we have to deal with, but we need always to be looking to the needs of our students with disabilities. If we focus on them at the beginning of the lesson, all the other children will do the same. They will look out for us. The way we look after our child with disability in the class makes everyone feel safe. It shows our children that we care for them, that we care for every single student, and that they are just like every other student, we want them to learn. As we seek to look after the needs of our special needs children, all of the children in the class are watching us. We are an incredible role model in the classroom. The children see Jesus through us. They see how we care. They see how consistent we are. We should not be doing any tutting or rolling the eyes or being exasperated if a child forgets to bring a piece of equipment, or rouse at them or go cranky on them because they failed to bring their equipment in. But at all times we should be understanding and patient and be involved in the child's life. It's a privilege to have a student with disabilities in our class. Yes, it's a challenge, but this is what we signed up for. We signed up for this challenge to make life easier for our students and to help them to be the best students that they can be. It's now time for you to work with your facilitator and go through the questions that are in your workbook. And I'll see you for session 13.